Good afternoon and welcome everyone for today's session about HR strategies for sustainable growth. Allow me to just quickly introduce my fellow panelists who will join us for today's discussion. The gentleman beside me is Mr. Greg de Garriz, the head of people development from Megaworld Hotels and Resorts. We have Mr. England Alano, our HR Director for Talent Acquisition, Culture and Development of Newport World Hotels. And the gentleman at the farthest end is Mr. Paul Joseph Espino, HR Director of Seda BGC and Manila Bay. Okay, so just a quick trivia, gentlemen. Did you know that the longest business meeting ever recorded in the history was 35 days? Oh, it took during the 1949 United Nations International Labor Standards Conference. But don't worry, audience, we are not aiming to break that record for today. We know that we are looking forward to enjoying our lunch out there. So in the next 40 minutes, we would like to invite your full and undivided attention as we explore an equally important topic, which is about HR strategies for sustainable growth. Before I ask my fellow panelists about their views and opinions to this particular topic, allow me to put some context and let's first define what sustainable growth and what is its relationship in HR. By definition, sustainable growth is about the organization's ability to expand its business, not only economically viable, but also socially responsible and environmentally conscious. So if we are going to translate this definition into HR strategies, HR will now play an important role in ensuring that they will create and implement policies that will support the long-term sustainability of the organization and its people. To put further context on this particular topic, last year, the World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, based on their record here in the Philippines, the hospitality and tourism industry contributed to 13.6% of our GDP. And the hospitality and tourism industry employed around 8.3 million fellow Filipinos. Despite of this growth and contribution to our economy, our industry is facing a big challenge. Last year, we have recorded an average of 30% turnover rate. The previous discussion was in consonance to this particular data, identifying that high attrition rate is a challenge for us. This challenge has been magnified by the recent study of Deloitte, wherein this global survey identified the top 3 challenges deterring sustainable growth in HR. The first one, it's about talent attraction and retention. Number 2, managing cultural diversity. And number 3, the influence of technology. So in the next 35 minutes, we would like to zoom in on these challenges through the sharing of this gentleman. And hopefully at the end of this panel session, we will be able to gather tips, tricks, and maybe strategies on how we can support the sustainable growth of our business from the lens of HR strategies. Okay? So let me begin by maybe asking Mr. Greg. The first challenge that has been identified from the recent study was about how are we going to effectively attract and also retain our top talents, especially here in the Philippines, wherein we are now currently at 30% average attrition rate. Sir Greg?
Thank you, RL. Good morning, everyone. For Megaworld Hotels and Resorts, we do have a multifaceted procedures in approaching this, especially the very sensitive issue on retention, right? Attraction is a factor, but I think it's more challenging to retain them, right? So in Megaworld Hotels and Resorts, basically it's a combination of we always refer to our pyramid, no? The Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So you always need to address those needs. So after the physiological, the safety and security, that's a given. For you to be attractive as an employer, especially a homegrown brand, no? It's a local brand. So you need first to address the need for belongingness. I think that's very important. So how do you do that? By brand imaging. I believe Megaworld Hotels and Resorts has been very successful, no, in providing a very positive brand image, not only for the Philippines, but international as well. I think that's a strong point of our company. So it's a combination of course, imaging of the company. People need to recall and people need to recognize the brand. I think that is important, especially with the young generation now, no? So we're talking, of course, of the X, the Y, and the Zs. Okay, even the alphas, right? So basically, they're much into current, what is current. They're much into social media and all those platforms. So I think we have been very effective in terms of these platforms. We've been using this for our recruitment. Not only that, the image itself as mentioned. So we talked about development as well. Me being head of the people development of the company, we have to ensure that we are here to provide room for growth for them. No, the expansion of our company is quite fast, as you may know. No, we are operating 14 hotels as I speak now. So that's in a span of 4 or 5 years. So I think expansion is an attraction. So because people will see potential for growth and for movement. So I think we are banking on that as a tool for attraction and for retention. Of course, we have to take into consideration as well compensation, benefits, that's a given. It has to be competitive and it has to provide the environment. I think one thing I'm very proud about Megaworld Hotels and Resorts is our culture. We call it the circle of happiness. And if you've been looking or following our job boards, no, our recruitment platforms, we always have this tagline. Do you know that? Join the circle, right? So that's normally our tagline for recruitment. So this circle we are talking about is a culture, the company culture of Megaworld Hotels and Resorts. So we call it the circle of happiness, no? So basically, you have to set that culture. It has to be unique. It has to be attractive, okay? And has to target the proper audience, basically. Thank you.
I really like what you said about the Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is old but gold, I would say, no? And I think all of us HR professionals, this is part of our, how will I say it, HR Bible, to always go back to this concept whenever we are in the process of thinking how we can satisfy and further motivate our team members. And it's good to know that despite of this AI and technological advancement happening in our sphere, these concepts will still guide us, no, to our North Star. I also love what you said about expansion as a strategy for attraction, because I can only agree that as we expand our business, it should be coupled with talent attraction management, and you are leveraging on that. Well done. Sir,
Doc
Paul?
RL, to add to retention.
Go ahead.
Because one way or another, all of us here are employees, whether you're most of the people here are revenue people, but they're still employees of their own companies. In my experience, at least in my current company, what we do is we do have stay interviews. So a stay interview is basically the opposite of an exit interview, because in an exit interview, you're already leaving the company. But in this case, while you're still in the company, maybe you can do this during your mid-year appraisal or end-of-year appraisal to check on the employee, make sure that their expectations are set or are met by the company. Because all of us have expectations, at least with your company. When you join a certain company, you look at, say, the culture. you check if the culture that's expected or set to the in the company is being delivered by the whole organization, not just HR. Also, we have to make sure that they're engaged. So you come up with activities, say your year-end parties, your say if there's Halloween or your I don't know your summer team buildings. These are activities that would keep your employees engaged as well. If you're able to keep your employees engaged, you'd see that they like the people they work with, and also it also translates to revenue. If you like what you're doing, it's easier. Say in our case, we're all hoteliers, so in our case, guests come back to our properties because we're able to serve them well. So I think it's also important to do engagement activities, and we make sure that we speak to our employees to keep them or to retain them in our own companies.
It's good that you have clearly underscored the importance of having frequent checks with our team members, especially right now that all our team members in our hotels and resorts, in our respective establishments, we are hyper connected to the technologies that are available on hand. And I think we have to go back to our core responsibility to keep our ears on the ground. And by doing this, we will be able to unearth and monitor what are these factors that will trigger them to leave the company. And if we can do something about it, that is a good strategy for us to retain with. Well done. I love the circle of happiness. I think that is also a good strategy to have a very powerful employer branding to make sure that our team members are not only attracted to the brand, but also to the purpose of the organization. Well done. I think we were able to create the checklist of strategies when it comes to attracting talents and also retaining. You started talking about culture. I strongly believe that culture, by definition, is the sum of daily habits. A lot of organizational studies mention that on an average, for a company to build a culture, it takes 5 years. So it's not an overnight dream. It is a process. It is a journey. So I would like us to transition on this particular topic, which also as identified as the second most challenging aspect of sustainable growth, which is managing cultural diversity. Mr. England, I would like to direct this question to you. How do you think, or what does cultural diversity affect, or the role of cultural diversity in talent management aspect? Maybe we can hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, so thank you so much for directing that question to me, because diversity obviously is very close to my heart, right? But when we talk about diversity, it's not just about cultural diversity. We also have sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, which is normally what you think when you talk about diversity. But it's also about women diversity, the cultural diversity, yes, the minorities, the differently abled. Now, you also mentioned that it takes like 5 years, right, to plant the seed of culture. And coincidentally, I started in Newport World Resorts 5 years ago. And I'm so happy that the very nature of our industry, being in the hospitality and tourism, right, I think it's really part of our core to be very open and even celebrating diverse individuals, because our part of our ethos as hospitality practitioners is that we want to serve everyone. We welcome everyone in our property regardless of their nationality, ethnicity, social status in life, right? That's why we are also looking for individuals who share the same values and share the same identity as us. And because of that reality, we were driven to be more inclusive. So because of that, we tried to review our existing practices and habits. So since I handle talent acquisition, culture and engagement, and also talent development, I'd like to share maybe a few business case scenarios about the benefits of having culturally diverse culture in our HR sphere. So one would be talent acquisition. We recalibrated with our hiring managers because, as like maybe being Filipinos, we are so keen on having like this height, height requirement, even the BMI. But we trained our, so we trained, because it's so nice to look at, right? But we trained our hiring managers to be more inclusive and really try to see what the job requires. So is it really a job requirement to be reaching a certain height? So we try to do a candidate experience training for our hiring managers. So we review the hiring profile, we train them on how to do interviews, which is much more inclusive and diverse. And because of that, our hiring process greatly improved from before 60 days for us to fill a certain role, but now it's 30 days, mainly because we were able to broaden our talent pool. And then for the culture and engagement part, we do biannual engagement surveys. So I think Sir Paul also mentioned this. So we included the question if our thrill makers, that's how we call ourselves, thrill makers. So not just employees, we create the thrill. And I hope that you're being thrilled right now. So we also included the question if our thrill makers feel safe in our workspace, because we cannot exceed any customer expectations. We cannot deliver optimal performance if, in the very first place, our filmmakers do not feel safe at all. And we also asked the question, do you have a close friend at work? And it may seem like for non-HR participants over here, they might think like, why do you even need to ask that question? But actually, studies show that if you have a close friend at work, and if the answer is actually high, it's an indicator that they have a positive workplace culture and their retention would also be higher. Because we are, just like Sir Paul has mentioned, we are all employees, right? So sometimes there are instances wherein, even if you're highly compensated, but if you work in an environment wherein it's giving you anxiety and sleepless nights, then maybe it's not worth it. But if you have a close friend at work and somebody supports you, regardless of your SOG, regardless of your individuality, then most likely you're gonna stay with the company. And then perhaps lastly, with talent development, we have significantly improved our career advancement, wherein even before you get promoted, you have to attend a leadership training program, wherein we also included a topic on multi-generational workforce, and also the importance of SOGI. So I think having said all of those, I'm so grateful that we are in this industry, because naturally we are very open to diverse individuals.
Great. So it's great to understand that you are now spearheading a lot of initiatives to bank on the beauty of cultural diversity and applying those initiatives to boost retention, as you mentioned. You started about welcoming a diverse pool of talents. Right now, we are also upgrading the way we attract and also acquire talents. We start veering away from the traditional ways of those criteria. I also love that you mentioned initiatives about talent development. Maybe 5 or 10 years ago, topics about multi-generational diversity is just an option. But I think it will now be part of our mandatory programs. Am I correct? Yes. And right now, there is an emerging skill. 3 years ago, we've been hearing about commercial acumen as a top skill for hospitality. But right now, there is an emerging skill which is cultural acumen. It is about being sensitive to different cultures and preferences, which I think will be the trend that we are going to see in the next 5 years. Sir Greg, before we jump to the last part, any additional insights about cultural diversity?
Yes, if I may add, I would like to echo the importance of what England just mentioned to us. For me, diversity is required, especially in this age and time, because our differences makes us unique. Would you agree? Right? I think it was designed like that our industry has to be inclusive to start with. Gone are the labeling days, no? The height and all of that, the BMI. I don't even remember the last time I used that. But, I think our differences makes us unique, and that's where the beauty lies. The culture sets that. Differences creates the culture of an organization. I find it quite boring if everyone is acting the same, right? They say the same things, they look like the same, all of them looks the same. You need diversity because it adds beauty to it. So I think for an organization to thrive, especially in this age and time, especially for the young generation and their generations to come, we need inclusivity. No labeling, okay? And we need to accept people for who they are. And we need to accept them for their talents, of course, because this will be the way forward.
And these beautiful initiatives, I strongly believe, should start from the top. And when I talk from the top, I am talking to all the delegates who are present in today's forum. If we want to celebrate cultural diversity and not just to tolerate it, it should start from us. HR should champion these initiatives, but we need each other, the top decision makers, to really champion and campaign this. As we said, this is not an overnight dream. No, this is a journey, and all of us should be on this journey. Well done. So let's go to the last challenge that has been identified as a detrimental factor for sustainable growth, which is about how do we leverage on this AI and technology when it comes to optimizing our talents. And maybe, Sir Paul, you can help us by sharing your insights about this.
Okay, so let's talk about AI and technology. Siguro first and foremost, we have to see it as an ally. Let's not see it as an enemy because things have changed quite a bit in the last maybe, 20 years or so. Back in the days when you apply, you look at the job, siguro job ads sa newspaper or maybe you do walk-in. But nowadays, wala nang ganon. You would go apply maybe, through Facebook. If you find like groups, like in our case, we have hotel organizations or groups that would offer jobs there. You'd see job ads also in Facebook. It then evolved to LinkedIn. LinkedIn it's your online resume. So all of the jobs, all of the companies you'd see there, I highly doubt that your company will not be there. Any company, if you want to check, or anyone who's out there working would probably have his resume out in LinkedIn. And these are actually tools that help us do our work, more effectively or easier because we have access to this information. Unlike before that we would have to, write or email or what. Although we still do email, but now it's faster. We even, especially with when COVID happened, we all learned that work from home is doable and it's sustainable at some point. We're able to meet instead of face-to-face. We can do group meetings, Zoom, MS Teams, Google Meet. Everything happened online and we were able to function. And recently AI, so ChatGPT. So before, when you say you need a job description, you would really have to think and type it. Now, go to AI, ChatGPT, or any other AI tool. Instruct your AI to create the job description, and what you will do next is just analyze if it's the one that you're looking for, or you just need to edit it. So it is going to be different now. Maybe some of the jobs would have to change to be able to adapt because we don't want to be obsolete, definitely. If you want to be valuable, you would have to adjust. So every one of us in this day and age would have to adjust to AI and technology. And even at work, we have, say, before we do training face-to-face, always face-to-face, until we've learned, it's e-learning. So people don't have to fly here or you fly overseas to attend trainings now. It's just here's the material, attend the training. And even LinkedIn, they now have LinkedIn Learning. So you'd see them across the world, literally sending you training you can attend, and even across various topics. So it's easier now. We have access, even YouTube. You can use it as a learning platform. So we now have all of these tools or access. We just need to use it properly. So siguro we just have to adjust and be able to adapt to these advancements that we have right now.
Great. I love what you mentioned in your introduction, that we should see AI and technology as an ally, not an enemy. I love the things that you have mentioned, that the initiatives and those best practices that we can enjoy right now. In fact, in a lot of conferences happening for the past 3 years, one of the core challenges or one of the common fears being raised, especially in our industry, are we going to be fearful about AI? Will AI replace our jobs? For the hospitality industry, I don't think that it will be happening soon, because the core service that we are, the core essence of our industry is about service. And I think robots will never be able to replace the way we serve our guests. And AI, we should see that, as you mentioned, as a complementary tool to make us more efficient, but so that we can focus more on our core responsibility, which is providing service to our clients. And when in the aspect of HR, our clients will be our team members. As you mentioned, AI will now give us more space to focus on touching base with our team members instead of focusing our time to those mundane tasks wherein this AI and technologies can now assist us. Sir England, maybe you can share some additional thoughts about AI and technology.
Well, prior to being in HR, I'm really a hospitality graduate. So I'm really passionate about this industry. So you're very right that I don't think we will be replaced by robots anytime soon. So I definitely agree that instead of looking at AI and technology as something we feared of, that it can be our complement, right? So in our talent acquisition right now, we have a system wherein this system and software can actually generate job description for you instead of like really maybe sparing half a day just to write a job description. We even have a software wherein instead of you reviewing 1,000 applications on a job sheet and Facebook, you can actually trim down and shortlist into maybe your top 10 based on your keyed in competencies and hiring profile. And that saved time can be utilized for having much more substantial interviews. And then the interviews are not just being used to really pre-screen our candidates, we also use that time to sell our property, sell our brand. Because if they won't be part of the company, because we will, for one position, we will interview like 10 candidates, right? So the 9 candidates may actually be our customers in the future. So I directed my team to be really very professional and friendly during interviews and think as if we are not just HR, but we're also sales and marketing.
That's great. You focus on a very specific initiative in talent acquisition. So right now, because of this AI and technology, it gives us more space to really more know about our candidates. Maybe I can only imagine 5-10 years ago, we are spending maybe our entire day just to read on the CVs and all these applications. But with the AI and these technologies, it will now give us time to know more our candidates in person instead of just focusing on their paperwork. And I'm sure in the next coming years, there are other HR processes that will be converted and assisted by AI. Isn't it exciting? I think it's very exciting. No? Okay, so I think we have a few more minutes to entertain some of the questions. Maybe we can start with the first one. When a team member is resigning, is it expected from an HR manager to convince them to stay, or they just need to know why they are leaving? Maybe I can direct this to you, sir, because you talk about talent attraction and retention.
Okay, so let me repeat the question. When a team member is resigning, is it expected from an HR manager to convince them to stay, or they just need to know why they are leaving? I think it works both ways. No? It depends on the manner why the employee is leaving. You understand? If it's a disciplinary case, then I think, you have answered the first question, right? But if it's not, if the employee is a performer, it's just that they have another offer, then maybe that's a good time for you to sit down with the employee, check, no? Of course, in our organization, we have what we call an exit interview all the time, no? So all resignations are placed on my desk, and I make sure I talk to the person even before the 30 days notice is served. So, I might be able to still, what do you mean? Encourage them or even convince them to stay. So basically, I have that period as an HR manager to do that, especially if I see a potential in that employee. Okay, so basically, yes, but I think it's important that we record and we need to have to check why people are leaving the organization, because later on you can address that to address your retention issues as well.
And I'd like to add two more things. No, echoing to what the gentleman mentioned a while ago, one of the good practices is stay interview, because I think it is a good pulse check before the actual resignation, that by doing more frequent talks and checks, we can at least gauge if this person is resigning or not. And then second, I think it is a good reminder for us HR people and also from the operations team to take talent management inventory seriously. Either it's a 5-box grid or a 9-box grid. It is an activity that we usually do together with annual performance appraisal. It is really having a comprehensive inventory of talents in our organization. Who are these team members worth keeping? And who are these team members that, hey, if they will resign, it's actually a benefit for the organization. So it's really about understanding the importance of these HR activities, especially in these high turnover rates that we are experiencing. Well done. Let's go to another question. I think we can still entertain two more questions. This is very interesting. Is leadership training should ideally be coming from a third-party trainer? Because we've been hearing a lot for the past years of these conferences, the importance of leadership training. Sir England, what is your view about this question?
I think yes and maybe no. It depends on the audience that you have, and also really depends on the type of culture that you already have as well. For early leaders, and if that will be in that case, a training for them to prepare them for a career advancement, I would suggest that it's done in-house because you're going to talk more about your culture. But it would be beneficial if it's coming from a third party, if I think the audience are the ex-com, because they won't have any biases, they won't have any consideration when it comes to ego, the power behind everything, because it's very natural, right? So it's going to be much more free-flowing. If for the ex-com, for a strategic meeting, my suggestion is a third party, but for lower level leaders, it would be in-house.
I can only agree, no? I still remember in one of my previous companies before, when we decided to start our leadership programs, at first, we engaged a third party, and then the audience was actually the executives. And then after that, we adopt the program, we further customize the program as we rolled it out down the line to ensure that the culture elements, the dynamism, and peculiarities maybe will now be integrated in the program. So it's good to hear that we are on the same page. Well done. Let's go to the, I think, last question that we can entertain, which I would like to direct to Sir Paul. What strategies can be employed to balance technological innovation with the preservation of jobs and opportunities for the human workforce?
Okay. Okay. What strategies can be employed to balance technological innovations? Okay. Allow me to first redirect everyone to the mission vision of your company. Because all of the strategies should support your mission vision. If it does not support or it is not aligned with your mission vision, then it's not a good strategy. So, in terms of technological innovation, if it will see that it's just going to make your work easier, or you'd be able to hit your targets or achieve your goal faster, sooner, or in a easier manner, then yes, go ahead with your technological innovation. But if you see that it's just going to hurt the company, it's just going to, say, cost you an arm and a leg, then don't do it. It would really depend on your mission vision, your goals, your yearly targets. That's how I would want to address this question.
Correct, no? And aside, I think, from linking to vision, mission, and core values, another HR activity that we should take seriously is about updating our job descriptions. Because as we welcome these AIs, so now they are now asking, when was the last time you've seen your job description? Was it the time when you were hired? Are you still performing the duties and responsibilities required for your role? Because I think the AI and technology, these things will directly impact the way we do things at work. And for us to preserve our role, we have to understand what are now the roles that I should perform, since AI and technologies are now being part of the workplace. Okay? So I'd like to wrap up. And as I have mentioned, thank you very much for all the insights and best practices that you shared. I hope the audience right now will bring with them the strategies, tips, and tricks as to how are we going to address the top 3 challenges that HR is facing to promote sustainable growth. This is very timely because I know most of us are in budget season. We are now defending our budgets for next year. And as we give emphasis on revenue targets, revenue strategies, I hope through this discussion, you will be reminded that you should also put equal emphasis on human capital. And when I say human capital, as we expand our business, we should not forget that the greatest asset of our industry is still human capital. And for that, thank you very much for indulging with us.